Hello everybody, my name is Spoons Rattling, and welcome to our, new series. I don't know, it's pretty just chilled, laid-back content with a vacuum in the background. But I figured I'm pretty hyped for the new Heresy edition. I really enjoy Horus Heresy, so I figured we would cover the main news roundups that we get in terms of rules. Mainly because I think it's really cool, and I think it is good news for the Horus Heresy in general today. So today we have some new weapon stats, basically, which just covers more how weapons work. So let's get into it. So, many weapons are going to look the same. The main differences are now mainly in melee weapons, but also that ranged weapons now have a damage characteristic. This is, I think, a very good change instead of making it so instant death is just your go-to to kill multi-wound models. Now there's more reason to use certain other weapons. And aside from that, range is still range. Firepower is your attacks. Range, strength, AP, damage, they all work pretty much the same. But interesting with bolters, now they, at base, have 2 firepower instead of being rapid fire, so you can always just effectively bolter discipline, like what Space Marines have tended to have in the past, which I think is overall a good thing. Armor penetration, all that stuff still works the same. You can see the traits here for bolt. I think that's going to be for things like Imperial Fists, where it affects bolt weapons. Then if a weapon has the bolt trait, then it would get that benefit. But we already saw this. This is pretty standard, and they did confirm that Fury of the Legion still exists. So 20 Astartes can fire 60 shots, which is quite a lot, even with just AP5, which isn't really that good at killing anything except militia. So yeah, that's very very standard. I think it is good, just simple to make it so they always just shoot 2 shots. It gives more value to bolter guys, which you're always going to have because of the troop requirements. Now we get on to the new weapon stats that we haven't seen before. So this is a huge change. It looks like heavy is no longer move or shoot. It looks like now standing still gives you benefits to your heavy weapons instead of stopping you from shooting altogether, which I think is just objectively a better way of doing it, because it means that close-range heavy weapons actually have a use. If you've played 2.0, things like multi-meltas just don't have a use, really, because there's no way to get them anywhere and shoot, and since they're such short range, it's so easy to just run out of range. So I think it's good that they're moving away from move or shoot, so that it's not just, las cannons dominating everything. I do generally agree with this. First up, we see heavy firepower, which means you get an extra shot with heavy bolter. So you get your 40 shots when you're stationary, 30 when you're on the move with a heavy support squad. But you see, heavy with the heavy X special will get a +1 to a characteristic when stationary. So again, if this heavy bolter legionary stood still that turn, he gets an extra shot, which is pretty big. It's 30% extra attacks. Oh, excuse me. Aside from that, you can see still mostly the same. I still think heavy bolters probably aren't going to have a great place, which is a shame because I love heavy bolters. They're really cool. But I am glad to see that now you can move and shoot. I think that is just a much better way. It's more interactive. If you fought stationary armies, it can be very boring to play against. So I think it is just objectively a good thing to get rid of move or shoot with heavy weapons, personally. Here we see the terror of 2nd edition. The las cannon is infamous for destroying anything it shoots at. It instant deaths all infantry. It has great strength to punch through vehicles. Now, the las cannon's being reworked. Now it's only damage 1. I don't know, I think instant death might be gone, but I don't think that's been confirmed or deconfirmed. And it says here, stationary legionary armed with a las cannon can potentially kill a Terminator with each shot, so I think instant death is probably gone. I'm not surprised. Instant death has just caused a lot of issues. It made things like a Castus Knight Porphyrians just heinous. But yeah, I think instant death might be gone, and I'm not necessarily against instant death being gone. It's just put way more emphasis on strength over anything else. But as you see here, so if your las cannon stays stationary, it gets an extra damage, so it goes to damage 2. It can still smack Terminators, except Saturnines. And it also gains Armor Bane, which I'm pretty sure functions the same way. You get to just roll an extra dice when you're penetrating armor, which I think is really good, because you're still going to want to do that. And then here we get down to a different weapon. We have the Melt-A-Gun, which seems to not be were Melt-A-Guns assault? I think they were assault. Sorry, it's escaping my mind at the moment. But Melt-A-Guns are devastating as ever and worse at close range. Melta-6 grants Armor Bane, so the Melta rule just gives you Armor Bane instead of Armor Bane kind of just being the Melta rule. And then Melta doubles its damage, which is pretty crazy. So this brings a Melt-A-Gun from damage 3, so this thing can already slag any infantry really easily. And it can pop vehicles really easily. You know, like a Daredale, that's a pretty tough target, so if you get close enough to it, then you can kill it in one shot. But they do actually mention a very good change, in my opinion, is tanks are getting more hull points. That's the biggest issue, I think, in 2nd edition in terms of like internal balance, aside from Dreadnoughts being overpowered, is tanks don't have enough hull points. They're just way too squishy. And then, of course, Primarchs and certain units have Eternal Warrior, which reduces the number of wounds they take. Overall, the Melt-A-Gun is looking quite fearsome, as it really should. It did go to AP 2 from AP 1. So I wonder if there's going to be a change to glancing hits, piercing hits, the damage table and all that. Obviously, if hull points still exist, it's still around. But instead of being AP 1, there might not be superior armor penetration. So instead of just kind of, making it really only that good on Melta weapons, you can make armor penetration more not quite as devastating, and I think that's a good idea just because so many vehicles are just prone to getting instantly exploded by any anti-tank weapon. You roll, what is it, a 5? Like, it's a 30% chance to instant kill almost anything in the game that isn't Titanic. I think that's a great change, personally. That's not confirmed. Let me say that's not confirmed, but I think that's what they're implying here. And then the Disintegrator weapons. These are the new... Well, not new. The Disintegrator weapons have existed on Seeker Squads, mainly. But here we see the Disintegrator Squads, which are, I believe, going to be restricted to veterans, which I think is going to make them pretty niche. But the Disintegrator Rifle is a 24-inch range, 1 firepower 1, so 1 attack at strength 4, AP 3, damage 2. Which I think is a fine profile. It's really good at killing command squads, veterans, whatever it may be. But it has overload, which is now it just gets hot. Now, interestingly, it mentions overload 1, which presumably means that there could be multiple. For example, say you have like a plasma cannonade from a Daredale, that might have overload 2 or something like that. And overload just means if you roll a 1, you take a hit yourself. The reason I think this thing might not be very good is if this thing's only in the hands of veterans, I'm not sure I want to kill my veterans that easily. I'm sure the heavy disintegrators will be really, really nasty, which might make it worth it, but I'd rather just take some of those instead of taking a whole squad of disintegrator rifles, which is a shame because they look cool. If they're on tactical support squads, for example, oh my god, that'd be great. Just have this unit jump out and slag just a bunch of things. I think the disintegrator rifle could be useful there. Or if it's really cheap. If these things are like 5 points, or even like just a free upgrade to your bolters, then I could see that being really good. So that covers our range weapons for this for this rules roundup. But we're not done yet. We have the melee weapons. So melee weapons have seen more changes. Now there's an initiative modifier, attacks modifier, which is how many attacks you're going to get with the weapon, and then the strength modifier, which is still the same. I think this might mean the end of the extra weapon bonus. Again, not confirmed, but the attacks modifier kind of makes me think that, just because I don't know how it would work then. And again, I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I'm more indifferent to if they got rid of the extra attack. It did mean that sometimes it was really beneficial to make kind of admittedly strange-looking loadouts, like a champion with a power fist and his Paragon Greatsword. But again, that's neither here nor there, really. So here we have the classic power weapon lineup: Axe, Sword, Fist. The power sword looks almost the same. It just uses your initiative, doesn't give you any bonus attacks. Its strength is just your strength. It's AP 3, damage 1, breaching 6+. Still going to be nice and effective, presumably cheap. And it has the powers rate, so again, that's probably just going to be for rules that affect power weapons. power axes have seen a big change. Now, power axes were pretty infamous as just being really cheap AP2 weapons, even with their unwieldy trait. That's changed a lot this edition, which I think is a good thing. I think power axes were probably a little bit overtuned, and I think this shows a great way this system brings way more granularity to the game. You can see that the power axe actually has initiative -1. So instead of nuking your initiative to 1, it just means you're hitting it one step lower than you usually would, which I think makes a lot more sense for a power axe. Then you compare that to the power fist, which is -3, which would mean, you know, a legionary sergeant would be hitting at initiative step 1. This, I think, is just a really good change. The initiative modifier allows weapons to be more granular. It allows it to be different depending on who's wielding it. You know, a higher initiative character won't be as sandbagged by a power axe as a sergeant is. The other thing with the power axe, it's AP3 now, so still really good at killing Space Marines, but you're not carving up Terminators with it, really. Or Artificer armor, things like that. But it does have a bonus over the Power Sword in its breaching 5+, so instead of a 17% chance to get that AP2, it's going to be a 30. Or roughly, 33.3, whatever. You get the idea. I still think power axes are going to be very strong, but now I think they won't just be like the go-to for a lot of people. They're more specialized, which is what I think they should be. And then back to the power fist. Obviously, initiative modifier -3 means you're going to be hitting last, but you're going to be hitting hard. At strength modifier +4 means you're getting a big strength 8 going to be. So you're wounding Space Marines, you're wounding vehicles. Power Fist is going to be very general purpose. It's AP2, really good for popping Terminators. It's damage 2, so really good for popping Terminators. But no special rules, but I don't think it really needs any. So I do think this is just better. You know, I mentioned the extra attack bonus. I'm not sure about what's going to happen with that because of attack modifier. You see here, some especially quicker pair of weapons grant additional strikes. I think the bonus attack might still be in the game, but this is for things like probably carnival weapons would get this. Lightning claws would get it probably. Things like that. You know, I'm not sure. That's the final point. I'm not sure. Overall, though, and then of course, everyone has the basic close combat weapon. It's just at initiative, at attacks, at strength, no AP, damage 1. So this is just how units that don't have any melee weapons would fight. Of course, they do mention there are hundreds of weapons in Age of Darkness, so I'm not surprised. And there's going to be way more to see, so that is pretty huge. Overall, I think... I'm not sure what this asterisk was from, personally, but, Anyways, where was I? Oh, yeah, okay, I see. Roll 3, roll 4, and hope they roll a 2. So the turn sequence isn't any different, really. But yeah, overall, I think this is good. I think we're going to see more weapon variety. It's going to be less las cannon spam, I presume. I can't wait to see what like multi-meltas will have in terms of their heavy special rule, or auto cannons or Volkite culverins. You know, all those things. I'm very excited to see. Anyways, this is a pretty chill video today. You know, I'm still a little under the weather. I've got like, you know, a bit of stuff stuck in my sinuses or whatever. So I just want to do something more chill. This is generally how I'm going to be talking about rules when I do now. I'm very chill, very relaxed. I'm very excited for Horus Heresy, so I'm really looking forward to that. I hope you've all enjoyed this video. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye.